Hello book friends, what's up? How's it going? Today's video is on the book Shattered Chords by Britt. Oh my god. Woo. Took me by surprise. I loved the first two books, which were Final Serenade and One Last Verse. And then Natalie took a little bit of a break, and now we're back with Dante's story. These books are about the band, the Hall Infinity. The first two books were about Frankie. He was the lead singer. Dante's the lead guitarist. They were best friends. Lots of stuff has gone down. They're at a kind of both at a different place in life. The first two books, like Frankie's story with Cassie and everything, was just really super interesting to me. And also seeing what Frank went through in those books, is still going through, of course, was very emotional for me. Also, I want to mention that because Natalie, she talks about what she does for a living, to me, these stories seem very authentic and very organic in the world that she works in. So to me, that adds a whole other level of credibility, not just as a viewer where we see stuff on TV and we read articles about, musicians and their lives and stuff. It's a little bit more, tugs at my heart a bit more, because I feel like she has a really particular voice. Frankie gave me all the feels, and Cassie, and I love them. Dante knocked me off my feet. I was really not sure about him in the first two books. He's not very nice. He's the typical bad boy. He's charismatic. He's a player. He's a drug abuser. He's not nice, but yet he's charming. There's a lot to him, but yet he's such an enigma. So I was like, not the biggest fan of him. Okay, let me put it this way. He would be the type of guy in my younger years that if I would have met, I would have been totally attracted to, but he would have terrified me. And I would be afraid for him to look at me, but yet I would totally want him. He's that kind of, he has that pull, but yet he would freaking terrify me. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? And so reading his book, I didn't know what Natalie was going to give us. I just didn't. And she gave us a lot. The book starts out basically where the last book left off in a lot of ways. I was very familiar. It was easy for me to get back into the story, even though it had been a little bit. Dante had a drug-induced stroke that left him scarred in a lot of ways. He is a guitarist. He is a well-known, the band is a huge band, and as a guitarist, he's very well known for his skills. He's extremely talented, and yet this stroke has left him with some deficits. And what it did give him was humility. I automatically saw that with him. And that's where, I took the first step to falling off the cliff with him, because to see that larger than life character in the first two books, good or bad, and then to see him where he is now, made me really emotional. And I felt like from the get-go that Nat could do that with her writing, and it was amazing. He's at this place where he doesn't really have anybody around him. He has just come out of rehab. He's not really talking to the boys in the band. There was a big hoopla about that. If you've read the first two books, you know about that. And basically he has his housekeeper. He has his manager that he talks to a little bit. He has his attorney. But he did meet who has become a very important person in his life, Malik, in rehab. And he's kind of like his sober partner. They go hiking together, they check in on each other. Dante's doing AA, he's trying to eat clean. He's realized and was rocked to the core with these health complications. And he's pissed at his body, he's pissed at himself, but he's realizes that he's gotten a second chance and is just trying to figure out what the next step is. We start the book with him being at a music store and looking at this vintage Les Paul guitar and appreciating it for what it is and noticing a young girl looking at it the same way that he's looking at it. And he sees kinship with her and a kindred soul just in the look in her eyes, really, and how she's appreciating at her young age this amazing vintage guitar that's for sale in this shop. This is some insight into where Dante is when the book starts. And here I was over 2 decades later, forever etched into the archives of music history for all the iconic riffs and solos I'd written while riding the high of cocaine, acid, and other recreational drugs. Famous, shattered. He then says a little bit later, pleasures of the flesh didn't matter when your soul was in agony. Okay, so he has been celibate, I guess you could say, which is wholly different than what his life was like before. But he talks about being in such a low place and that he's not even really been attracted to anyone. He strikes up a conversation with Allie, who is the young girl in the guitar shop. They're talking about guitars and connecting over that. And she goes on to tell him about how she's in a band and they're performing on Friday night. And he's like, huh, okay. And then all of a sudden in storms this woman and is like pissed off, and Mama Bear comes out and she walks right over to Allie and she's like, let's go. What are you doing? Dante's a little confused. He's like, is this her older sister? Who is this person? But he takes one look at her and he is like, oh my God, she is not happy that Allie is talking to this man. He realizes through conversation that this is her mom. This is Allie's mom. Her name is Camille. And this is what he says about her. My blood rushed south and I was both petrified and happy. After months of hibernation, my dick was finally awake and she was someone's mother. The thought shocked me. This was a first. So immediately I was like, okay, I'm gonna love this because I have such a sweet spot in my heart for single parent romances. Of course, I'm already falling for Dante with his shattered rock star, charismatic personality that has now been tamed. And the way Nat writes him, I loved it. It is dual perspective, love. We got to know them so well. Camille had Allie when she was 18. She was a freshman in college. Her dad's not in the picture, didn't want to be in the picture. So Camille has raised her on her own. And she works, she has a successful business. She really likes what she does, but she's in an interesting place in her life. And this is where I connected with her so much, that she is a mom of a teenage girl. I myself have 3 children, boy, girl, girl. So I've had teenage daughters. I have teenage daughters. Our older daughter is actually 21 and our younger daughter is 17. So I get the teenage girl thing. It's a lot to deal with. And Camille is in the thick of it with Allie being 15. Oh my gosh, everything, just all the feelings came up. I was right in it with her in so much of it. She really worries about Allie. She is super into music. She has this band and she wants to go out and perform, and her mom is like, oh my God. And she just has there's this extra little something. I don't want to say paranoia, but it's just the two of them. She has the role of both mom and dad, And she feels the weight of that on her shoulders. So she's super involved and super on Allie all the time, trying to protect her innocence, understanding that life can be and go places that you aren't expecting, and wants to protect Allie from some of life's harsh truths. There is a lot of tension that you feel between them. And the fact that she grew up super fast when she had Allie, she's questioning where her life is, where it's going, and not really knowing. This is from Camille's perspective, kind of talking about her life, her mom, and where she is. She'd set the bar too high. She turned me into a perfect young woman who only wanted the best, a young woman who kept her shit together through the wildest of storms, until one night when that young woman became tired of being flawless and snapped. And now she was alone with a teenage daughter, waiting for something to change. It's your own damn fault, Camille, a voice in my head said as I stared at my reflection. Wrinkles. My eyes searched for wrinkles and other signs of aging. There were none, not yet anyway. My hair still shone bright, my skin was firm, and my breasts were full, my waist was thin. I liked how I looked. Subtly youthful and classy. I just didn't like that all the hard work I put into my body and mind would be going down the drain in a few years. I had no one to give what I had. I had no one but Allie, who was slipping away like a bird in flight. At 34, I was still single with a couple of unsuccessful relationships under my belt that had led to nothing but heartache for me, for both of us, me and my daughter. After the second fiasco, I decided to stop tormenting her and sworn off dating for good. That was 3 years ago. Oh, so to me, there was a theme in this book that I felt, which was, where are they going? They're all wondering where their life is going. Allie on the precipice of taking steps to where her life is about to begin. Camille, where she knows she still has great years in front of her, but the years behind her went fast. And where is she now? And where is she going? Dante, having lived the life that he lived and getting kind of the second chance after this major health issue, but not knowing what his life looks like. He knows he doesn't want it to look like what it had been, but he has no idea what the future can hold. We take a deep dive in this story with these characters that I loved. I loved how Natalie peeled back their layers and showed them very organically where they are. I loved their voices that she gave us. Sorry, Rue is trying to play with me over here. I felt like we took a deep dive into their souls and we really got to know them. Natalie took Dante completely apart and showed us him in his most basic form. And I loved watching her start to put him back together. And then he meets Camille and Allie, and they give him, both differently, a rush that tapped into his soul. Allie with the way she is with music. Camille with, he saw her as a mom, he saw her as a woman, he saw her in all the things that she was, and that called to him. I freaking loved it. So the interesting part is that Camille is like, no thanks. And I understood why she said that. But I was like, girl, you are stronger than I am. But that's where her maturity and her mama bear came in, where she was like, you are a mess and I can't deal with you. But I want to share with you a little bit about when Camille was like, no, because I was like, girl, how do you keep saying no to him? And these were places that Dante's personality really shone through, and I loved seeing those parts to him again. You can be the coolest and most understanding parent, and your 15-year-old kid will still think you're lame. That's just how it is. Dante smiled, and the faint lines in the corners of his eyes deepened, revealing his years. I assure you, you're not lame. Tell that to my daughter. I personally think you're pretty stunning. He patted his pockets and fished out a lollipop. I stared up at him, allowing his words to settle in. Something shifted between us. There was a change, a stir, a transference. My heart thudded. "What are you doing?" I asked quietly, unsure if he could hear me, over the racket of equipment and the buzz of voices dribbling out from the club and the pizzeria next door. We were right in the middle of everything, surrounded by noise. He unwrapped the candy, stuck it between his lips, and inched closer. "It's called a compliment, Camille. Just accept it." Blood rushed to my face and lit it on fire. Okay, he's got this thing with lollipops because, like, he doesn't want to have a cigarette, so he puts a lollipop in his mouth. Why is that sexy? It is! And then a little bit later, "Do you do this a lot?" I asked. "What exactly? Check out high school bands?" "No," Dante shook his head. "Only if I like a band member's mother." My cheeks flamed. He was so direct it almost knocked me off my feet. My breath was suddenly stuck somewhere between my lungs and my throat, and I felt completely naked under his gaze. No wonder the man changed girlfriends like socks. And then a little bit later, and this is Allie and Camille. "Did you just say no to a date with Dante Martinez?" Allie's accusatory voice crept up on me as we drove off. "Out of all the men who've asked you out, you had to shut down this one, the one I actually like? What's wrong with you, Mom?" Right? And then from Dante's perspective, but a little bit later. "Sure, I didn't always get what I wanted, but Camille's rejection stung. Perhaps it was because she was the first woman I'd asked out in over a decade. Or perhaps she was just the first woman who found a way to put a dent in my ego." And then a little bit later, and here I was, years later, trying to make sense of how to navigate a social networking app because I was desperate to find out everything I could about a woman who'd said no to dinner with #1 on Time's best electric guitar players list in 2008, 2009, and 2011. He keeps asking, he doesn't give up. "What exactly is stopping you from saying yes?" She drew in a deep, loud breath and looked away. An expression of concern settled on her face that was flushed from the heat. "You're not the type of man for me," she finally responded, every word like a blow. "What type of man are you looking for?" I asked, staring at the candy that was turning into a sticky puddle in my palm. "I'm not looking for a man, Dante." "What are you looking for then? You really don't take no for an answer." She shook her head and bit her lip to hide the tentative smile that crept across her face. "Everyone's looking for something, Camille," I whispered, catching her gaze. "But I know you're kind." "And what is my kind?" I followed her lead and poured myself a drink too. She turned to face me, holding onto her plate. "You're a drive-by. You do what you want, you disappear. You leave tons of damage behind, and you never come back to clean up your mess." Her words smacked me like a sucker punch. I didn't know what exactly it was about this woman that made me want to keep going, keep asking until she broke. Resistance, maybe? Resistance I never had to deal with before. There's an interesting slow burn to this book. And I might be totally way out of left field when I say this, but the book takes place in LA, setting the scene for a lot of the book. She talks about the environment that they're in. So she talks about it being really hot. She talks about being able to smell smoke. She realizes ash is on one of her friend's cars. She can smell the fires. Camille talks about it being close, knowing where the fires are around them and knowing that they're safe or not. And to me, I felt like it was so metaphorical for the story she was telling between Dante and Camille. The smoke was like the slow burn of it kind of always being around. So like this kind of burning that they both feel, but it's not like screaming in their face. They're not acting on it. It's just both in them. And then the smoke, as far as none of them knowing where they're going and not being able to see what their future holds. What Dante's future holds. Will it be with Camille? Will it not be with Camille? Will he play again? Will he repair things with Frankie and the band? Like all that stuff. Camille, like, is Dante someone she can trust? She can't really see in the future what that looks like, but she knows that Allie's not getting any younger. At one point, she's going to be by herself in a couple years. Allie on the precipice of what does her life look like? Where is it going? Will it be with music? Will it not be in music? It's smoky. You can't see any of that. I really liked that, and that might just be my perception. We can feel the intensity and the kind of burning that Dante is feeling. Before everything happened with him, he was super impulsive, devil may care, kind of just go with the flow type of guy. And after his health crisis, and then meeting Camille, there's this intensity that has built within him again. He kind of has these moments where he just kind of gets in his own head. I felt this intensity building and this fire building inside of Dante, where as cool as he was trying to play it with Camille, something had to give. And the moments where they were connecting as two people who were attracted to each other, trying to figure out what they were doing, were like super swoony. And that feels like not even the right word, but I loved these things that Dante said about Camille. Oh, Camille Rockwell was definitely a woman. Battling my insane attraction to her was useless. It was a living, breathing being hiding beneath my skin, clawing at my heart, and demanding to be quenched. We'd fallen into an oddly cordial routine with the guitar lessons that were usually followed by chats and sometimes, like today, dinners. Twice a week, like clockwork, I had those brief moments with her, those fleeting seconds of feeling normal, unbroken, and wanted, not in a sexual way, but as a person. I marveled at how much her presence vexed me because I couldn't have her in the way I had hundreds of other women before. Do you want to hear the uncomfortable truth, or do you want to hear the convenient lie? She drew a breath, long and measured, preparing herself. I don't like lies. Me neither. I'd rather make 1,000 enemies by telling the brutal truth than lose a single friend by not saying anything when it matters. It struck me then how relevant this notion was, how fitting. It described my life with such vivid accuracy, the fraudulence of it. You know my interest in you isn't strictly platonic, I rasped out, holding her green gaze. You can deny it all you want, that you're not even a bit curious, but the fact remains you are. You're just scared, and I understand why. This might sound cheesy coming out of my mouth, but I care about Allie. I care about where she takes this fire she has in her. So then I was completely shocked because I didn't realize how far in the book I was. I was not paying attention to chapter numbers. I didn't look to see how many chapters there were, and we get to this part where he's just like, it's just bubbling up in him and he just has to make a move and he just can't help. He's feeling and he just needs to do, and he does. And then the book stops and it's a cliffhanger. Oh my gosh. I wanted to throw my Kindle. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh no, wait. I mean, I knew it was a duet, but still I was like, oh, wait. Yes, I will be doing a video on the next book, which is Red Hot Harmony. I believe that's coming out in about a month. Make sure you stay tuned for that one. Let me know if you have read N and Britt's other books. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. While you're here, I would welcome you to consider subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up. When you do that, it not only helps my channel, but it will help this video get shown to more people here on YouTube. Don't forget to come over to my social media and say hello to me over there. It is Kat Reads Romance on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.